Everyone, welcome back to the shop. So I just want to show you the 2022 updated edition of my workshop tour. I've since changed locations since the last shop tour that I did on my channel that you can go watch. Yeah, I'm just basically in a new garage. But yeah, I'm gonna take you around and show you some of the machines I use, some of the hand tools, and just a couple of the current projects that I have working right now. So yeah, let's go look around, and we'll start at the beginning here of what you could see. First, this is the Workbench. This right here I found it at an antique store that I restored a little bit, really just to make it usable. But you can see it's a broadhead Garrett vise. Got it for like 10 bucks, which is sweet. So I just fixed it up, put a wood handle on there, and put oak for the clamps. This is my first workbench that I made really for chiseling wood. It's super thick. It's made out of LVL wood. It's pretty small, but you can see it's kind of getting, beat up and everything, but it absorbs the impact really nice. So this is really good to chisel on. Over here, this is just a kind of hack together extension of the workshop. And let me be clear, this workshop, like I have projects that I'm currently working on, so it's not the cleanest, but I thought it would be the most genuine to show you. So these are a couple drills that I use. I've had this drill for about 2.5 years. It's just a Ryobi hammer drill, pretty standard. Works great, haven't had any issues with it. This is my most recent pickup here. It's a Dewalt impact driver. I really have been a big fan of this so far. It's really worked very well. And I usually keep this on here. It's just an angle attachment. So if you move that, you can get it whatever angle you need, which is actually super helpful. And I've had to use that on a couple projects that I've done on my truck where it's kind of been like tight, you had to get around. Just some of my charging stuff, music, some clamps. This is my primary clamp that I use all the time. It's kind of an old Irwin quick grip. I got it from a garage sale, and I use that to hold things to the bench. This is my hand antique tools. So a Stanley 71.5 hand router. It's a bit brace, a couple other things, hatchet and old wrench, and an axe that I'm carved into making. So my chisels that I use them probably every day. I use them all the time. Some random stuff, just what's called block plane, some marking stuff, wood rasp. I use the wood rasp primarily for making fine adjustments to dovetails. If you keep it steady, you can shave off just a tiny bit of material without rounding the edges over, so that works. This is my mallet that I use. It's the cheapest one you can get, pretty much. Marking gauge, hand scraper, all the classic stuff that you probably would have for hand tools. Square, some bits I have. This bucket, I just put one of those I don't even know if you call it, like bucket bag things on there, that I take if I'm going somewhere to do something. So right now I'm installing these shelves. So these are the brackets for the floating shelves that I keep in here. So it just kind of makes it easy. You can just kind of throw tools in that and put it in the truck pretty quick. What else we got? This down here I just picked up pretty recently. This is just a Dewalt Orbital Sander. I had a rigid Orbital Sander for about 2 years, and it finally died, so I burnt the motor out. So I had to get a new one, so I went with the Dewalt this time. It's a Jigsaw. Keep all my rags. I've been using these rags for a while. They're fine, they're okay. They're kind of a little cheaper, I don't know. And then I use these for putting oil on, so that works pretty well. I keep some finishes, like I've used this wax before that works okay over top of like some kind of varnish. Keep some stains, have a little shellac and all that stuff. This is the drill press, just from Harbor Freight, so it's pretty cheap, but every project that I've used it on has worked. Great. You can't complain at all. You can adjust the speed on top. Yeah, you can set the depth, so pretty standard stuff if you're working on, something like 10 inches or less. Got got the wood glue back there, got some finishes, and behind here is some of my hand planes. So that's a Stanley number 7 joiner plane, Stanley number 4, just a cheap, you know, Lowe's hand plane, and then a Stanley low angle jack plane, which that's my collection. Trying to grow it, but that's what I got so far. I probably use this number 7 quite often, probably the most. Keep some finishes behind there, like tung oil, a couple of antique restorers, some wax, and just some other things like silicone and wood filler. This right here is my assembly table. So it's actually part of a door, but it's like almost perfectly flat. So it's really good if you're assembling any kind of legs or furniture that you want to have some kind of reference point before you actually put it on the ground, because this will get you pretty close. This is just a vise that I have over here. This is what I started out with. I just kind of tacked it on to this 2x4 just in there. So it's kind of sturdy. I mean, it's gotten less sturdy over the course of a year since I've used it, but it works well, but nothing compared to that one right there. This is the Ryobi bandsaw. You can bandsaw stuff to about 3.5 inches, but for small stuff, I mean, it works great. I use it all the time, and I just recently put it on the bench. I usually just keep it on the ground or something. So what else we got? We got the router table, again, just Ryobi. My router's in there, Dewalt router. I use this thing all the time. Super nice for putting, you know, if you put like an upcut bit, you can carve out drawer slots. You can put curves on edges. I mean, you can do so many things with having this. This is a super cheap router table, and I just kind of modified it to fit my Dewalt plunge router or router. So that's kind of what we're working with, and obviously you can see kind of a theme developing so far. You know, Harbor Freight drill press, Ryobi tools. That's what works for me, just because I don't do this full time. I have no complaints about any of them, and you save quite a bit of money going, you know, less expensive route. So it really just depends on what you use it for. Let me move this thing. It's my broken chair. This is just keep some hand tools and miscellaneous mechanic stuff. Nothing really fancy in there. So some more chisels and hand gouges and yeah, spoke shave, draw knife, angle stuff, and yeah, it's pretty typical stuff that you may find in the hand tool set. I always got some cutting board oil. I use that sometimes for sharpening. I find that it helps to smooth the metal, but I don't use it all the time. And then I got some just, you know, wrenches and carpenter square and all that stuff. That's just one project that I did. So it's like a software development GitHub mosaic with the word committed, because that's what you do when you save code. So this is one project that I have right now that I'm going to be installing these, and hopefully a week or two, they're going to be floating shelves, so you can see the hole for those brackets I showed you goes in there, and so it slips in 9 inches into the wood. This is monkey pod wood. I finished it with shellac, and I sealed it all with epoxy, and I put orange oil and beeswax over top of it, so it gives it a nice kind of sheen, but it kind of retains some of the natural look. This one's pretty. This one kind of has a neat design there to it, but you can see. So I didn't dye the epoxy at all. I just left it, you know, as is, and it already kind of comes out pretty dark with the wood, but it looks pretty nice in person. You can see some of my projects have gotten some sawdust on them, so hopefully I'm getting those out of there. This is a table saw. Nothing special about it at all. Just a, what is this? A Craftsman Table Saw. I got it on sale. I mean, you know, it works for me, what I do with all this stuff. This is my more recent acquisition. This is a Dewalt planer, and let me tell you, I love this thing. This thing is phenomenal. I mean, you can save so much time using just running your stuff through the planer. So obviously you'll need to use some of the hand tools to get your point of reference for a flat edge. But once you do that, you just pass it through the planer, and I mean, you save hours. Yeah, so really happy with that. I don't have a jointer. I'm still doing that by hand, but maybe if I sell a couple more projects, then I'll do a joiner. We'll see. This is a stand, so you can make this, you can use this as a roller stand. You can use this to hold up material like doors, or you can clamp a 2x4 in there and make it a really long support post. So I'm going to be using this to put up a mantle that weighs that weighs about 100 pounds. So that's going to be helpful for that, because it can raise like it can raise like 4 feet on its own. But I mean, you can just clamp in a piece of wood and you can make it however high you want, and it can hold like 200 pounds. So super helpful. This is kind of just my off-feed table here. I just threw it together, so it's the same height as my table saw. So if I'm ever cutting a big slab, I can just slide on that. This is my latest project. So this is a live edge end table. So it's all joinery. So it's double mortise and tenon in there. And then I don't know if you're not gonna be able to see that, but it's dovetails to hold these in on the top. I guess I can post a picture of that. And then I got these go into the wood, and then they screw into the top. So it still allows it to move a little bit if the live edge is still has a bit of drying to do, or just seasonal change. Then I just have a bow tie joint on the top to hold that in. And I also, you're not gonna be able to see this, but I did drive 2 screws in there to hold it, just in case, because I wasn't sure how long this had been dried for. I know for at least a year, but I don't know beyond that. But yeah, so this is black walnut, and then this top is monkey pod, and then I have I think 4 or 5 coats of tung oil on there. I'm gonna see if I can leave it with that, but I have to see if it dries in certain spots and becomes less shiny, because I really want this to retain the color. So yeah, so I'll usually just pour the tung oil in one of these containers, and then I'll just wipe it on with a rag. So nothing really too fancy about that. These harder spots, like back here, if you just take a brush, you can get that all on there. But it's important, you got to seal this, because you don't want this chipping out, or if you spill anything, you don't want it rotting. It's got a cool design right here that I left, kind of gives it that, you know, natural weathered look that's hard to get artificially. This is a miter saw, picked it up at a garage sale, again, like 50 bucks, so super cheap. Couple levels. The one behind that is a Harbor Freight level, so again, it's not expensive. But yeah, a lot of the hand tools, again, like I said, I've got from either antique stores for super cheap, or I've gotten from garage sales for really cheap. Like this is this clamp I got for like $5, and it's like a $70 clamp new. So again, you just have to look around, figure out, you know, what do you need, what works for you. And yeah, obviously this is not aesthetic at all, but I figured it was realistic. This, you know, this isn't you know, a top tier workshop. This is just, you know, accumulating things over time and building what works for you, which I think is an important lesson to learn, you know, as we go in life. Just use what you have, and, you know, kind of figure it out as you go. Down there, keep all my, you know, car maintenance junk, whatever. A couple hand saws I have over here. This is a dovetail pole saw. I use it all the time. Just a Husky, just rip saw. Got a hacksaw behind there. Coping saw. Keep my tape, hammers, and wire brush. Got the putty knife over there, and yeah, and then just miscellaneous screws and bolts that you collect over time. Oh yeah, I was gonna show this. This is my Craig pocket hole jig, and I would say that this tool combined also with, if I can get this open with one hand, hold on. All right, we'll come back. All All right, if you combine this tool with this, you can really produce a lot of, you know, cheap furniture that you can sell for a profit. That's kind of what I started with. So if you look over here, and excuse the trash, I have to clean up obviously. That's just a pretty standard farmhouse TV stand that you can find all over the internet, you know, plans for whatever. If you make stuff like that, it doesn't require a lot of effort, you know, on your part all that much, just because it's pocket holes and you just cut the boards or the wood to length and screw your pocket holes, and you really can't mess it up. The hardest part is just, you know, getting everything level. Obviously you're limited to a 2x4 in this, but with this you can do pocket holes in anything. So you really, if you're going to do the pocket hole route, you either need to just buy this one, or if you have this, you're probably going to need to buy this at some point, at least from my experience. This, you're going to save a ton of time because it's super fast. This will need its own clamp for. So I guess whatever system you work with. I use this exclusively for, probably 6 months, and I made a bookshelf, a desk, TV stand, a nightstand, and I sold all that for a profit, and I made about $600 in profit just on the farmhouse stuff alone with pocket holes. So I use this $600 to, you know, start accumulating other tools that I could begin to make more stuff like that, like some nicer live edge, you know, hand joinery furniture. So you really just need to figure out, you know, what's your start, what are you trying to accomplish, what's your goal, and then just start small. Start, you know, seeing if you can sell a project for a profit, and then take that money and reinvest, and, you know, figure out what works for you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. This is just a small shop tour. If you have any questions about anything in here or just about woodworking in general, let me know in the comments for sure. Again, I'm gonna have some content coming up here soon, probably related to software development. So if you're interested in that or woodworking, which we'll come to, let me know. Yeah, anyway, thanks. Bye.